slice the ground and remove it and look into it. We have the horizon, which is the ground level. These are measurements, so the overall track measurement measures from the horizon to from the wall at the horizon to the wall at the other horizon. But this depends on the substrate. So if super muddy soil is going to look different than say like sand or really hard clay, so the overall track, that's not a measurement of the foot, it's the true track at the bottom of that that is the actual footprint. And that's where most of, I'm getting ahead of myself. So the horizon reflects changes in speed and soil type, while the true track never changes. When we look at animals, these are important, more so when we get into like search and rescue stuff. But we want to, so if we're tracking a person, we want to be sure that it's the same person, but further down the way. So I mean, we look at shoes and stuff, but just by measurements, you can get a pretty good idea about all of that. But so when we first start looking at a track, we want to take in the measurements. How big is it? How many toes does it have? Are the fingernails present? So we get an idea of what the animal is like in a baseline, so that as we go out further in tracking in the pattern, looking for people mainly, that we can reference those notes and say, oh yeah, this is indeed the same animal that we were tracking a mile and a half ago or whatever. So with people, it's a pretty, we have a ball in the front and the heel, but with animals, we have the measurement of the widest point, that's the ball. And then down here, that heart shape, that's a deer track. And they don't have balls, so we just measure the width of that. So we talked a little bit about this the other day when we were talking about the dominance of, we talked about the spiraling when somebody is lost. We spend more time on our dominant foot, so that creates an arc that spins around. Most, in people, it's like 75% of people are right hand dominant. And then in animals, it's closer to a 50-50 split, but it seems like 55% are right hand dominant for whatever reason. So this is how we measure tracks and how we make sure that it is the same animal that we're looking at. There's other ways to do it, but that's the most general notion. So how do we clear print identify things? And there's 4 questions. How many toes are in the front? How many toes are in the rear? How many are there claws present? And what's the shape? And so this is pretty much the fastest way to figure out quickly what you're looking at. If you're just looking at a track, I don't know what it is. But so we go through this flow chart and we can find out quickly. So we ask ourselves the question, how many toes are in the front? If it's 4 toes in the front, 4 toes in the rear, no claws, and a round shape, it's in the cat family. And you're like, oh, Scott, cats have claws. They're only out when they're swiping at something, or when they're slipping and they're like, oh no, I need to grab onto here. Otherwise, their claws are up in their toes. Something that cats do that's really interesting is they direct register, which means that their back foot, not so much domestic cats because we fatten them up to the point of like unnatural behavior, but wild cats, they're so when their front foot picks up, the rear foot goes into the exact same place. So you don't see the diagonal, the traditional. Right, exactly. You'll see, two, but they're all there. And then so when we fatten our, our house cats up, there's that little bit of definition or little bit of difference between the tracks, and they're not exactly hitting in the same spot. But if you look at videos of cats doing that stalk, you can see that that's really evident in that. So bobcats have smaller inner toes And have you ever seen a lynx? They have weird their face or their feet look. Yeah, they have larger inner toes that are just massive, and then it looks funny. I've never actually seen a lynx prints in the wild, but it is something
like
to note.
Opposable thumb type.
It's almost. It's not really, but because like it's more like, you know, the inner toes are much larger, where the you know, but it's not like an opposable thumb.
Okay.
So you're saying inner as in the inside of each paw rather
Yeah.
than the inner of like.
Right. So
Yeah,
actually,
okay.
here, let's back up a little
Get what
bit.
you're saying.
So
I thought he was saying like thumbs. Like
we
that
have
too, yeah.
these are this is a dog track again, and in the rear we have the lobes, the 3 lobes. This is the heel pad, and then we have the digits. So
Okay.
the outer digits.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And the inner digits, and then the claw marks too. So the next one going down so we've got 4 toes in the front present, 4 toes in the rear present. Does it have claws? Yes. And we have this kind of exclamation sign. That's a rabbit or a hare family. So our dinner would have that shape if we were tracking. So 5 toes in the front, 5 toes in the rear. Our claws present, and with a square shape, that's weasels, skunks, otters, ferrets, and badgers. You go a little bit further, 5 toes in the front, 5 toes in the rear. Yes, claws are present. This kind of U shape, that's the bear family, and possums too. But actually I had some bear walking across this road in the back, and that's sure enough what the track looked like. And they were 5.5 inches wide by about 5 inches tall. So I don't know if that's a big or a small bear, but when I saw that, I was like, whoa, that's a bear.